Hello and welcome back to Kyalami for the Extreme Festival of Motorsport. It is race 2 action now of the Red Square Kawasaki ZX10 MastersCup. Greg Maloney switches himself on and here we go. Race number 2, spoke to Graham from Radar. He's really up for this and he's got his new sponsor in-house. That's the Steph Stocks team. So great to have Steph Stocks as a new sponsor on that bike number 1 and let's see what he can do. He's already picked up the race number 1 win. Can he do it again now in race number 2? It looks like a great launch there from Sven Gunnar from pole position. Another good start there from Graham from Radar in second. But it's all about going into turn 1. Look at that. What a beautiful shot of all those Kawasaki's filtering through into turn 1 here at Kyalami.
25 of them in the first start. I think there's about 22 of them still left over as they head down into Crowthorne Corner. And everybody getting through gingerly. Fortunately, enough space given there from that little mid-pack that started to get together right from the word go.
Oh, Brian Bontukunen had to be.
Bontukunen coming through the field from the back, remember, after not finishing the first race.
Get heat in those tyres.
Lap number 1 of race 1.
Yeah.
So not quite what he wanted, but watch out for Bontu, bike 16, the black helmet in shot as he cruises through into Sunset Corner. Hopefully all these guys are going to have some tinted visors on, because despite the big shady patch on the main straight, everywhere else, including Sunset Clubhouse and the top of the hill into Leopold, you're going to be blinded by the sun setting now here at Kyalami.
Well, it looks like Sven Gunnar doesn't want to even hang around and play anymore. He got beaten by Graham from Radar in race number 1 on that new Stefanini Stocks Kawasaki ZX10. So he's trying to check out now. Sven Gunnar out front, and I think that's the best option because Graham from Radar, different kind of Graham from Radar that's rocked up here this weekend, looks more determined than ever. There comes Michael Smith on the inside there. A little bit of better start there from Gareth Bezuidenhout. Jaco Goos, the biggest loser there. He's now behind John T. Collard. Yeah. So Goos, after a brilliant start in race number 1 where he was battling for the podium, down in about 4th or 5th there, so some work to do.
Good start there from John T. Collard, you got to say, 100%.
And Sanjeev and Teddy.
Sanjeev and Teddy going at it again. Teddy Brook Refrigeration in Kawasaki. Sanjeev all over the back of him looking for an early way past the Silver Surfer. If he can find it, not quite there just yet. But Gruner opening up a little margin, doing what he should have done in the first race, try and get away from this pack of riders behind him. Nice to see, yeah, definitely an option that was required there. You can see Peter DeVos has gone for the tinted visor even, because he knows by this stage of the day it's going to be very, very bright into your face as you come back up onto the back straight away. And for the next half of the lap, you're going to have the sun shining in your face. So it's Van Radar, standing start over 1:58.5. I'm not quite sure if that's right. Sanjeev Singh coming through in second place, I don't think is right.
No, we're missing Sven Gunnar.
Sven Gunnar definitely didn't get picked up there.
And Peter DeVos.
And Peter DeVos.
So, yeah,
Gruner coming through there and looking like he could potentially be the race winner here if he can keep it all together at the front end there. You can see confirmation of that. Van Radar and DeVos. And they weren't picked up on the first pass there by our timing monitor, so we'll keep an eye on that one. John T. Collard, as you said, a much better start from him.
Yep.
He's ahead of Jaco Goos. And Goos,
way down.
It's not the way Jaco Goos starts a motorcycle race. Gareth Bezuidenhout on his tail, Michael Smith behind him. Then it's Johan LaRue, Rob Craig into the top 10. Good to see that. Away from Cape Town, and Andre van Wallenstein into the top 10 as well. He's in 10th place, just ahead of Mapana Gonapathy and Wayne Spicer.
So they're Graham from Radar starting to drop Peter DeVos now, but look, it's Sven Gunnar. He is just not hanging around here. I think he was a little bit disappointed with race number 1 because he knew he had the pace, just didn't time it all so well. Here comes Jaco Goos on the inside of John T. Collard at the top of the hill. He's got Michael Smith not too far behind Johan LaRue. There's Brian Bontukunen still coming through the field. There's a Pataganapathy, Andre van Wallenstein also right in there, and Wayne Spicer, the busiest man on track today. I hope he had a little splash and dash before he got out on track this time. Sanjeev Singh now ahead of Teddy Brooks. So Sanjeev Singh, I think he's got enough pace to certainly maybe close down on Peter DeVos. Jaco Goos trying every which way possible to get ahead of John T. Collard. And John T. Collard, another rider there, has just come on in leaps and bounds over the last 2 seasons on that Kawasaki.
Yeah, massive improvement from his side. There's no doubt about it. Looking down on the motorcycle, just coming under braking now and being closed down there by Gareth Bezuidenhout. Bezuidenhout starting to close on the back end of the 43. So literally awesome little battle there. The 22 bike of Bezuidenhout closed right up onto the tailpiece of Goos under braking. And now looks to try and capitalize on the squirt of the Kawasaki as it goes down that main straightaway. They come under braking, Goos looking for a way through on Collard, still can't find a way through. And it's allowing Bezuidenhout to come up and be part and parcel. The 2 yellow bikes, or yellow liveries on those motorcycles, taking on Jaco Goos. Behind him, his ex-stablemate, of course, is Michael Smith. And then behind Smith, you can see Rob Craig and Johan LaRue starting to come into the play as well.
There we go. Sven Gunnar out front of 52.5 there. So almost half a second faster than Graham from Radar. He's got a comfortable 1.3 second lead at the moment. So Van Breda has got to do some serious work to try and catch down on Sven Gruner out front. Peter de Vos still comfortably in there in third place, and looks like he's lapping faster than Sanjeev Singh, Teddy Brook, and this battle here on track. Yaku Kos around the outside of Clubhouse. Now that is a brave move to pull off there, but he just squared it up coming out of Sunset, and that is the trick to do there. Remember, less track is more and means faster lap time. So a lot of riders do tend to come out of Sunset using all the track, and then they've still got to pull it all the way back for Clubhouse, and that adds on to your lap time. Yaku Kos, using his experience there, came out of Sunset, kept it tight, and just kept that momentum all the way through Clubhouse. And look at the gap he's already pulled on Jonty Collard and Gareth Bazadanote.
Do yourselves a favour, just rewind this footage, go back to that incident coming out of Clubhouse and write that down.
Yeah.
Less track is more. Okay.
Less
more
track
time
is faster lap time.
That's it. Faster lap time. I'm going to use that forever and ever and a day.
You have to.
Write that down, somebody.
You look at MotoGP riders and they try and use as little track as possible.
I hear you, Rob. I'm 100%. That's what I'm saying. Everybody take this footage, rewind back to.
I normally charge for that.
And just write that down. There we go.
I gave it to
Graham Van Breda, write that down. Right, Van Breda doesn't have to write it down because he's starting to close in on the gap that was opened up to 1.3 seconds on the last pass. It's down to 0.7.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lot closer now between those two.
Just shows you what happens when you get a new sponsor and you're trying to impress them.
Yeah.
Graham Van Breda, a new rider this weekend, it just seems like. Sven Gruner ran away with this Kyalami race last year. But Van Breda now closing down that gap. And Sven Gruner will be feeling the pressure. He's soaked up a lot of pressure over the last couple of years of racing, but seeing that pit board, just seeing it go from 1.3 to 0.7 is a big worry, especially when you're riding as hard as you possibly can and you're still being closed down. So the Steph Stocks Kawasaki ZX10 there of Graham Van Breda in second place. Peter de Vos still not out of this, keeping his nose clean there in a comfortable third place. And Sanjeev Singh, another, we can't commend that rider enough so far this season there in fourth place. But the battle for first place is certainly not over, and Van Breda is now coming
in a big way, looking for an opportunity to get to the front end as quickly as he can. Sven Gruner will be aware of it. By the time he crosses the line, he'll see those boards, and they'll be telling him that it's less than a second now between himself and second place on that Steph Stocks Kawasaki Graham Van Breda GBBD. And the number one plate on that bike is for a reason. He was last year's champion, and he's looking for a back-to-back championship if he can get it. Peter de Vos doing a super job. And remember, he is fighting for Class C honours. So looking for opportunities to just take the class championship maybe as opposed to the actual race win here today. Class championship, he's fighting with Teddy Brook, Johan Leroux and Andre van Wallenstein, who are all in the top 10, but a lot further back than what he is right now, as he sits there comfortably in third place.
And he might not look like it, but Peter de Vos is in fact on a ZX10 1000cc machine and not on a 300, because he's a very tall rider and he makes it look like that. Van Breda, let's see what lap time this is, because the Steph Stocks Kawasaki has closed in big time now on our leader, Sven Gruner. They come across the line. He's almost in slipstreams territory. Oh, here we go. That is still the battle. Who is that? That's Michael Smith now, getting ahead of Jonty Collard. So Collard
got through as well.
Collard is now falling by the wayside here. So maybe some tyre issues. Remember, a lot of these riders use the same tyres they use not only in qualifying but also in race one. So maybe tyre wear coming into play here for some of these riders.
And it looks like Leroux is coming for the ride too. So Johan Leroux just behind there, looking to attack. Speaking of the attack, look at the attack coming from Graham Van Breda. Fastest man on track on that last pass of a 52.1. There's a 53 dead out of Sven Gruner. So there's a very good possibility that this league is going to change relatively shortly from now. Looking at the way things were going as well, just going back to my notes that were sent in between the races, I think there was a bit of a change up in terms of the amount of races left and how many laps. Yes, ZX10 is now 8 laps, so we are at the halfway stage of this second heat of racing.
Yeah, there we go. That's why Graham Van Breda has got the hurry up. He knows he doesn't have the same kind of laps that he had in race number 1. So just pulling his finger here a little bit. Sven Gruner, though, it's a little bit easier catching him. Passing him is very, very hard. Sven Gruner is so late on the brakes, and I spent a couple of time with him at Red Star Raceway doing some testing. He likes to set that bike up front end, very front end orientated on that Kawasaki. Remember, we've got the battle of the 2 generation of Kawasaki's here. Sven Gruner on the, I think it's a 2015 model Kawasaki ZX10, Van Breda on the brand new 2017 or 16 model there. So a little bit more horsepower on the 17 model and a little bit more refinement out of that bike, especially when it comes to front end setup. And I think that's paying dividends now here. To Graham Van Breda. Sven Gruner knows. He knows he's in a battle.
Now looks over the shoulder and realizes that it's coming down.
He might let Van Breda actually lead maybe, although I don't know. Sven Gruner does like to lead out front, and he might learn from race number 1 where he did let Van Breda lead a bit, and it turned out to be a mistake, but Van Breda went on and took the overall win. So Gruner, I think, just had a look behind, saw that Van Breda was right there, and I think maybe it's head down, bum up time, and try and keep that bike number 1 behind him.
So head down towards Crowthorne and see if he's able to do that. Braking markers are very late on these ZX10s. You can see they're going right up to that 25-meter marker before they climb on the anchors for Crowthorne. Pitch it over on the left-hand side. Van Breda slowly but surely coming into grips there with the hard challenge it's going to be to find a way through on Gruner. Gruner's not going to make it easy for him, that is for sure. He had to work for it in the first one. He's working probably twice as hard here in the second one. So let's see.
Yeah, we go.
And they're both getting away completely from DeVos.
Yeah,
DeVos got no answer.
Exactly. Graham Van Breda on the inside. We saw that leg out move in race number 1. He gets beautiful drive onto that back straight, climbs in the slipstream, uses a little bit extra horsepower that new generation's got. Ooh, out of the saddle there for Graham Van Breda, just lighting it up coming out of Sunset. That lost him a tenth or two there on Sven Gruner. But Van Breda right in the mix now. He's got 3 laps remaining, so not a lot of racing left to try and make that move on Sven Gruner. And if he could do that, the points that he lost last time out at Swartkops, this championship will be very, very close.
Yeah, definitely bringing the championship back into his grasp.
I think they'll be tied on points going on.
Pretty much, yeah. I think it's going to be very close. There's no doubt about that one. As they get onto the breakers up at the top of Leerkop. Triple left hand as they go through there. You've got to try and get that apex and get the drive out of the third apex there. And that's exactly what... Oh, good move there from Van Breda. A little gear miss there from Gruner. And Van Breda is going to make him pay. That he starts off very nicely down the hill, and now is he good on the brakes? He's trying to use it now. He's got the advantage. He's seen a bit of a rattle there, and he's going to try and hopefully use it to get away from Gruner. Gruner, slightly different line coming out of Crocodiles, and it hasn't given him the exact line he wants to come into Cheetah. So let's see what Graham Van Breda can do now from the front. First time he's been at the front, is he going to try and run away?
I think Sven Gruner, knowing Sven the way I do, he's going to try and fight back as quickly as possible. He will not want to let Graham Van Breda get into a rhythm, especially how he's seen the Kawasaki man, sponsored by Steph Stocks this weekend, how he's dominated. Look at that Kawasaki of Van Breda's. Van Breda has got that bike dialed in to perfection, exactly how he wants it, and looking like a different rider here this weekend. Last year, Graham Van Breda was nowhere near Sven Gruner, but this weekend he's come in focused, like you said, didn't take part in the SATT this year, fully focused on retaining that number 1 plate. Look at this battle now. Sanjeev Singh has still got Teddy Brook, and Yaku Coast, the hard-charging, recovering Yaku Coast now, is in that battle as well. So
as they go into Yuxkay, we're getting a little bit of hell in the sideline here from our COC. But everything going according to plan. A little bit of action that we've had all day long here at the Motorsport Festival. Sanjeev Singh under attack from Teddy Brook. Teddy Brook also under attack there from Yaku Coast. Nice little battle there for 4th place on the track. 3 bikes in it. Any one of them can get up there. And also take into account that, of course, Sanjeev Singh is a B rider, so is Teddy Brook is a C rider, and of course Yaku Coast is a Class A rider. So they're all fighting for their own rights in terms of overall on the day, but also will take into account where they're going to finish in their respective classes.
Here we go. I said it. Sven Gruner was going to fight back. He did not want to let Van Breda get into a rhythm, and that's exactly what he's done. He's fought back on the inside.
No misgear there, boy.
No misgear there. He came charging out of there. In fact, that actually disrupted Van Breda, who I think missed the gear. So Van Breda, a little bit of a mistake there, got rattled just a little bit. And Sven Gruner, now with only 2 laps remaining, has made that pass, and it looks like he's going to try and put the hammer down and just try and extend that lead.
2 corners and a lap to go for these guys. And GVBD rattled at the top of the hill. Let's see if he can come back and return the favor on Gruner. He's not too far off the back end, so there's still a chance for him to take this victory. Let's see what it's like as they cross the line. Last time out was half a second in Graham Van Breda's favor. It's about half a second in Gruner's favor as they cross the line now to start the final lap. He has to get that as they cross there. Sven Gruner looking for a chance to possibly just upset the apple cart a little bit. It's no, it's definitely not 6 seconds there. There's definitely an issue there on the timing monitor. I think they just missed out on Graham Van Breda. 0.3 of a second there to Van Breda. So he's still in with a chance.
This is the beautiful new section of the new Kyalami track here. You come flicking it through there, the tight left-hander, which is turn 1, then you flick it right, left, then this left-hander onto the back straight. You don't realize the momentum you carry there. Graham Van Breda has carried brilliant momentum there, and he shoves it on the inside there. Brilliant move from Van Breda. Will he be able to bring it on? Looks like he went a little bit wide, but pulls it to the apex beautifully now. Now, last lap time. Where does Sven Gruner put all the cards out? This is going to be interesting because Sven Gruner, he has to fight back. He cannot lose 5 more championship points to Graham Van Breda.
I don't know about this one, buddy. I think Graham Van Breda caught him out there. I don't think he expected him to go through Sunset with that kind of maneuver and he's pulling about 2 bike lengths away as they go through the S's. So he'll have to be exceptionally good on the brakes at the top of the hill. We know how good Van Breda is on the brakes. As they get up onto the top of the hill now, into Leeuwkop, Van Breda goes defensive. Little squirrel on the front end, which is a bit concerning, but fortunately kept it upright. Now coming out, watch for the drive. Van Breda had good drive, so did Gruner. We've seen both those riders go down in the mine shaft, absolutely pinned. And now keeping it all together as they come under braking for Crocodiles. They're coming up on a back marker. I don't think that back marker will come into play, but Graham Van Breda goes defensive, late on the brakes, foot out into Crocodiles, and just hangs on.
Yeah, Sven Gruner's going for the nice wide line there. Oh, loses a little bit of traction out that rear Bridgestone R10 tyre. They're coming into the second last turn now. It will be the final turn now. Van Breda is going to go very defensive. Could it be a double win on the day for Graham Van Breda? That number 1 plate looking all but secure coming out of Kyalami here. He comes onto the front straight. It will be the double win for the day for the Step Stocks Kawasaki man. Sven Gruner did everything he could, but on the final lap going into sunset, Graham Van Breda made that move stick, and it's 2 brilliant race wins here and 50 championship points there for Graham Van Breda. Who will be in third place? It is Peter de Vos, pretty lonely third place, 8 seconds back in that battle for fourth.
No, it's
Teddy.
Teddy Brook crosses the line just ahead of Sanjeev Singh. So Brook coming through there in the closing stages. Apana Ganapathy still fighting hard out there with Rob Craig. Great to have Rob Craig back in the field of races. Been a long time off any national championship racing for him, and probably a little bit rusty, but he'll certainly be making his way higher up than potentially 11th place on track in the ZX10 MastersCup if he uses the experience he did to win a couple of South African championships in his day as well. So ZX10's completed there, going through the field. Graham Van Breda taking the victory, and of course that will be a win for Class B for him. Sven Gruner will come through for second place in the Class Bs, and Sanjeev Singh will take third place in the Class Bs, down in fifth place. Class C went to Peter de Vos ahead of Teddy Brook. It would then be Johan Leroux down in ninth place, taking the third place for Class Cs. Class A will be Jaco Gous, and he will beat out Gareth Besaidnout and Michael Smith for the top 3 there. Here's a quick highlights for you of ZX10 MastersCup, proudly brought to you by Red Square, Kawasaki and Bridgestone tyres. As they go on to the braking markers down into turn 1, it was a fantastic start, as always, from our 2 top contenders, Sven Gruner and Graham Van Breda. They would fight it out just ahead of Peter de Vos initially. De Vos would slowly but surely lose the ground to the top 2 as they got away from each other, and of course of de Vos as well. Mid-pack, it was all about Jonty Collard, who showed some incredible starting technique to stay ahead of Jaco Gous, a very good starter in his own right, and Gareth Besaidnout. Besaidnout and Collard would eventually get through on them. Then into the closing stages, it was Sanjeev Singh also starting to make some maneuvers, but Sven Gruner hanging on for a late race charge here from Graham Van Breda. GVBD getting super drive down the short straight. He wasn't able to find a way through on that lap, but eventually would come through as Sven Gruner was looking back, realizing he was probably in trouble, and Graham Van Breda was going to try something special. He went into the sweep the first time, trying to go on the inside, didn't quite work out. By the time they came back, you could see a little slip in proceedings there for Gruner as he went down the mine shaft, just missed a gear, came back at him, back at Leeuwkop on the very next lap, and showed that he still had the ability to stay ahead of Graham Van Breda down the mine shaft. They then headed back into Sunset, and up the inside, running ever so slightly wide, was GVBD, but he eventually hung on to come across the line and into the final turn. A last-ditch effort from Gruner didn't quite pay off, and he'd have to settle for second place. So it's Graham Van Breda here at Kyalami's Motorsport Festival with a double win in the Kawasaki ZX10 MastersCup, proudly brought to you by Red Square. We'll be back shortly with some V8 supercars, in fact with the G&H Transport Extreme supercars first, and then the V8 supercars, AMC and Samcar.